Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I am joined by Gillian Thompson, who is a Robert Morris women's hockey player. Gillian, welcome to the podcast, and how's everything going?
Good. Thank you for having me on. Everything's going well.
Well, that's good to hear. And let's start off talking about the situation with Robert Morris. When did you initially find out the news that the program was going to be canceled, and what was your initial reaction to all of that news that came out? And how's your reaction, or how's your mood, or I guess your mindset on the whole thing changed since the announcement happened a couple months ago?
Yeah, so we found out, I think it was May 26th, because I remember it was around the May 2-4 weekend. And we basically just got an email saying that you need to jump on a Zoom call within about 45 minutes. And I remember our group chat was kind of going off, like, anyone know what this is about? Like, no one had any idea. And then the Zoom call lasted, I think, less than 15 minutes. And they basically just said, I think they let me in the meeting like a couple minutes late, but basically all I heard was, sorry to hear this, but we're cutting your programs. And I remember texting my roommate and I was like, is this really happening? Because it all just, I don't know, came out of nowhere. And then they were like, let us know if we can do anything to help you. But for now, this is all we can say. So it was basically just complete shock. I didn't really know what to think. And then all of a sudden I just started bawling because I had no idea what was going to happen next. And I just remember calling my parents and they were just like, I think I had to tell them about 4 or 5 times because even they were like, are you kidding? And then as for now, I think it's just a lot of frustration that's going on because they keep saying, like, we'll give you an update, and there is no update. And then finally we just got an update. I think it was released yesterday, the day before, that our season won't come back for this upcoming season. And they say maybe if we raise enough money, it's a 2022-2023 season. So it's just a lot of unknown and uncertainty. And then with that is a lot of frustration.
Yeah, and how do you deal with all that uncertainty with the program being canceled and then trying to bring the program back?
I mean, we were told, like, basically go out and find a new program. They said, you got to protect yourselves, and because it's so uncertain, like, just go and do what you have to do to get into a new program. But it's hard because no one, like, really wants to leave. So it's like very difficult. And a lot of girls were like, a lot of my teammates were saying, oh, like, I'm talking to this school, but like, I still want to come back. And like, I don't think anyone knew really, and no one really knew how to deal with it all. I think that was the toughest part.
Now, did the university ever get to let the players voice their concerns about this decision being made?
Yeah. So then after, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks after they announced the decision to cut our programs, we had a Google Meets meeting with our president and a bunch of the like athletic directors. And it was basically like an open call, and you could ask, like, raise your hands, ask any questions. Um, and then, but with that, our president actually ended up leaving the meeting early and didn't tell anyone. I don't know if you saw that.
I did
So
not know.
okay, yeah. So he was supposed to be on the call and the call was supposedly to last, like, I think it was an hour or something. But people still had questions, and not everyone, everyone basically had a question, and it was the men's and women's teams. And we were like, someone, voiced and said, hey, I know the meeting's supposed to end in 15 minutes, but we still have like 30 people still have questions. Like, can you please extend the meeting? And our athletic director was like, he was hesitant, but eventually he did say yes. But our president left the meeting, and he was the one that everyone wanted to talk to. And he left to go to some other obligation. And I think everyone was pretty set off by that because, all we're asking for is for you to answer our questions. And we've already had to wait like 3 or 4 weeks. And then you have the audacity to just leave the meeting without even saying anything. Like, he just completely dropped off the meeting. And I think it was like very disrespectful for him to do that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something I didn't know about. So that's tough. And I guess like the big thing is for yourself, like navigating through this whole situation is what have you like personally done to try to help bring the program back? Because I know there was an announcement recently before yesterday's, like how they were planning, there was like a Pittsburgh Hockey Foundation, and they were basically going to use that foundation to help raise money to bring RMU hockey back?
Yeah, so I think, a lot of it is financial. And it's basically like for us and for my teammates and coaches and all that, it's just getting the word out and seeing if anyone can like basically donate money. And, you need millions. We need $7 million in 5 years. So, me personally, I don't have that kind of money, but it's just like contacting and like posting it, getting it on social media to see if anyone is able to help donate and get the programs back.
Yeah, and what have you done? Have you tried to do anything personally to bring the program back? Just trying to spread awareness on social media or anything like that?
Yeah, I think like, we just keep getting sent like new media releases and stuff. So just putting it out on, I mean, I'm not really on Twitter, but putting it on Twitter, like Instagram, Facebook, like, I don't know, we're just everyone's pretty much doing all that because that's about all we can do,
Now, what can the
unfortunately.
listeners of this podcast do to help try to bring Robert Morris hockey back?
I think it just all comes back to like putting it out on social media. I think that's the best thing. If anyone wants to donate, I mean, please, it's much appreciated because that's basically what we need right now is money. So either spreading awareness on social media or donating. That's all we need.
Now, regarding yourself, do you have any plans for next season hockey-wise, or do you just plan to stay at Robert Morris and just to continue your education through academics?
Yeah, so I'm going into my senior year. So I did, and I'm an education major. So I did try to transfer, but it's very difficult because I've completed so many credits that if I were to transfer, it would basically set me back by like another year. So transferring wasn't an option for me, which was very unfortunate. And all I have left to do is student teach. So I'll stay at RMU for my last year and finish my student teaching. And then hopefully and possibly if I choose to go in, because we still have 2 years of eligibility. So then maybe go and get my master's and finish up my last 2 years.
Yeah, so is that tough for yourself, not gonna be playing a season for next year, and how do you like try to handle that mentally?
It is very difficult. I think it's something that it's basically like a college player's worst nightmare. And especially too, like it's your senior year, it's supposed to be your big year. And not getting that opportunity is very devastating. But I have a couple teammates who are coming back. So I think we just, and we're in the same boat. So it's kind of nice to have other people who know exactly what you're going through and just kind of leaning on each other and just trying to make the most of, I don't know, having a year of no hockey. I think that's kind of all we can do.
Yeah, no, that's definitely tough, and I wish you all the best trying to find a new place to play if you choose to do that after you graduate college this year.
Thank you.
Now, let's start off talking about the beginning of your hockey career. So you're from Toronto, Canada. How did you start playing hockey, and what's it like growing up there?
So I started playing, I think I started skating when I was about 3. I have 2 older sisters who both play. So my parents never, well, I think my dad played when he was a kid, but nothing too serious. And we just, I don't know, my parents just put me and my sisters into hockey and just never looked back. It was like, I can't really remember. I just always remember playing hockey. And then growing up in Toronto was a lot of fun. I think you'll see a rink every 5 minutes. So, there's a lot of competition, a lot of really good competition. So, I mean, I enjoyed every minute of growing up in Toronto and playing.
Who was your favorite player growing up that you admired the most and tried to model your game after?
To be honest, like I never really had like one set person. I kind of like different parts of people's games. I think I always remember liking Sidney Crosby. I think he's just like one of those flashy players that everybody loves to watch. And then I think I always watched like Haley Wickenheiser and Cassie Campbell. I remember as a kid going to a camp with them and getting their autographs and stuff. And so I think that was just very neat to see like, females being, at the top level. And that's something that like I've always strived for. And just watching how they play, I mean, it was pretty incredible to see growing up.
Now, before playing college hockey with Robert Morris, you played in the PWHL for the Toronto Arrows. How did you get that opportunity to play with that organization and to be a part of that league?
Um, I think just kind of like through college, you get recruited into that program because Toronto doesn't start their program until your midget year. So my year before that, I played for Brampton. And my one of my older sisters was playing with Toronto at the time, so we knew the coach already. And I think we basically just reached out to him, and then he came and scouted me. And very similar to college, they just asked you to come join for the following year.
Now, talk about your experience in the PWHL and what was your favorite memory you've ever had with the Toronto Arrows?
Yeah, I love playing in the PW. It was a lot of fun. The competition was like very tough and very challenging, which made it even more fun. And then you also got the traveling aspect of it, so which was very similar to college. And I would say my favorite memory was my final year. We broke the curse, which was no team has ever won the Stony Creek tournament, the like PWHL year regular season, and the provincials. So that had never been done before, and that was very, very exciting. And because we almost broke it the year before. So to be able to do that in my last year was something I will never forget.
Yeah, definitely a good way to end off your junior career before heading off to college. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Now, just talk about the provincials. Like, is that like the playoffs? And what's it like being a young player in that high caliber type of game against those type of players that you're playing against as well? Because there's a lot of players in the PWHL that go to college hockey.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny to see, like, you say like, oh, like this person you're playing against may end up on your team and then on your college team, and seeing where everyone goes. There are definitely a lot of players, but it's definitely something that I was very grateful to play in, and I think the PW uh, prepared me very well for the college level. I think it's because it's the highest level you can play at. Like I felt very prepared going into college hockey.
Now, how did your experience with Toronto ultimately help prepare you for college hockey when you're heading into it your freshman season?
Yeah, Toronto and the organization is very like does a very good job of preparing their athletes. One thing that they like strive to do is say like, they teach you how to write the SAT, and they run a mock SAT, like even things like that with admission. And then we also do a college tour where we go and play different colleges. So I remember one year we went to Brown, Princeton, and a couple other schools, and we do that once a year, which I think is a very good idea because you get the idea of what it's like and the speed of the game, and then you can bring that back and start incorporating it into your game. And then it's also when you get to college, you say, oh, okay, I've already played here, and like maybe in my junior year I wasn't like that prepared, but taking that and going into the summer and understanding like how fast the game is, I think is something that Toronto does very well, and I felt very prepared going in.
Now, take me back to your recruitment process. What was that like for yourself, and what made you want to go to Robert Morris versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, so it is definitely a very interesting experience. Like I said, my two older sisters, played in college, and so when it was my turn being the youngest sibling, my parents were, basically knew exactly what to do. So they were huge supporters of it. And I contacted RMU because of their teaching program. That was one of the big things that I always heard growing up is, pick the school based on education and then pick hockey. And then luckily RMU had both a very good hockey program and a very good teaching program. And then with the teaching program, the degree is transferable back to Canada. So then once I'm done here, I'll go back and teach in Canada, and I don't have to do any extra schooling or anything like that. So that was one of the big factors to why I picked RMU.
Now, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey? Was it kind of the speed of the game, or was it more just the physicality of the game since you're going against players that are 4 and 3 years older than you were as a freshman?
Yeah, definitely. I think both, I would say. It was definitely much faster and a lot more physical. And then the skill is just that much better. Like the passes are that much harder and crisper, and everyone's shooting is a lot more accurate. So I think that was something you had to pick up on really quickly. And then as a defenseman, when you have these like girls who are 4 years older than you charging down on a one-on-one, like you got to figure out pretty quickly how to skate backwards as fast as you can. So that was definitely like a big adjustment is the speed, I would say.
Now, in your first 2 years with Robert Morris, you unfortunately and your team unfortunately could not win a CHA championship. How did you use those two losses heading into this past season as motivation?
Yeah, I think it was like you after 2 years you're kind of getting to the point like, okay, like enough is enough. This is the year you're gonna do it. And I think our team had like a very strong connection like emotionally. So I think a big factor is that everybody wanted to do it for our seniors, because they had gone 3 years without winning. So I think going into that third year, it was just like, give it all you got, because we're not going into this final game for the third time in a row and losing. Like, I think everyone was kind of just at the breaking point, and everyone was just like, all right, we're giving it all we got.
And being an upperclassman this past season, what type of leadership were you trying to bring? Were you trying to be more of a vocal leader in the locker room, or maybe lead by example type of player?
I think a little bit of both, but probably leaning to more towards leading by example. I feel like you're more successful if you're going out and you're giving it everything you've got, and then people want to work for that. Whereas people who just kind of sit back and relax and say, no, 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 like you go do it, like you have to be better and stuff, I don't think that's as successful. So my goal was just to play at the best of my ability, because that's kind of all I could control, and hope that everyone else in the team would follow, and they did. So
And there was a lot of challenges that were brought this past season because of the pandemic. One of those challenges was the schedule changes that happened, especially towards the beginning of your season. How did you personally deal with all those changes regarding your schedule, and what was the key for maintaining flexibility for this for this past season?
yeah, it was definitely difficult, and no one had done this before. So I personally was just, and we talked about it as a team, like we'll play every game like it's our last, because no one knew if it may just be our last game, and the season would be shut down. So I think the best way is to just that we did was just not look too far in advance, but also like keep high hopes, and keep practicing and keep training as if we were had a complete full season. So yeah, I guess that was kind of it, just kind of playing it by ear.
And you also didn't play in front of any fans this past year as well. How did you handle that, not having that crowd noise, playing in those games? Because it must have been a bit odd just playing in an empty, silent arena.
Yeah, that was definitely a big thing. I mean, I think that's something you take for granted as a player, uh, is that having all your fans come out, and then to have no fans come out was a huge adjustment. And then especially like with parents and stuff too. Like luckily Toronto's only about 4.5 hours from here. So, having my parents there, they were trying to come down as much as they could, and then for them not to be able to, it was very emotional and very difficult, because that was probably one of the toughest years, and then you couldn't really like go and hug your family after, say, like a tough game or a really big win. So that was really difficult, but again, it's one of those things that everybody was going through it, and no one could see their parents. So I think it made us realize like how grateful we are to have such a great team, and that we can lean on our teammates.
And how did you try to bring that energy on the ice without that crowd noise off the ice? Whenever there was like a big shot, block shot, obviously a goal, it seemed like to me watching your team play, the bench was going crazy. Is that something your team tried to like preach in the locker room before games?
Yeah, I think, but it was more so it just kind of went without said. You know what I mean? Like, everybody supported everybody on our team, and and we had a lot of people scoring for their first time, and I think it's just something that goes without being said, that you got to get your bench going, and I think the like scoring gets the bench going, but I think the bench gets people going as well, like get your players going. So I think it was just a natural reaction, and I'm yeah, but I don't know. No one really did anything specific. Everyone was just extremely excited.
Now, something that was introduced to college hockey this past year was 3-on-3 overtime. As a fan, they're very fun to watch, but as a player, what's it like to be a part of them and have more space in the ice for more offensive opportunities?
Yeah, I love 3-on-3. I think it was kind of nice too, because it gave you a change. And it was funny because our team, we play a lot of 3-on-3. Like we'll play all Monday. Like say like Monday will be 3-on-3 day, and we'll play like 3 periods of 3-on-3. I love it. I love the open ice. And especially as a defenseman, like being able to pick up the puck and pretty much skate 3 zones, or whatever, 2 zones down. Um, I had a ton of fun with it, and our team had a lot of fun with it. And we had a couple girls who, as a defenseman, like you skate around and you can like make a huge cross ice pass to them at the blue line. And with their speed, they were able just to go and kind of blow by people. So it was a lot of fun. I loved it.
Yeah, and you also have to be a little more defensively aware in those situations because one little defensive mistake, an on-man rush could happen. Is that something that's always in the back of your head, especially for yourself being a defenseman?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't really get caught up in the moment. As a defenseman, and for me as a offensive defenseman, I like joining the rush and I like being that fourth man in. But then in 3-on-3, you can't get caught up on that and like join the like say you have a 3-on-1 rush, like you got to be careful because like you said, if that puck gets turned over, you can have a 2-on-0 going down the other way. So I think it was important to just kind of every so often, bringing yourself a step back and saying, all right, hey, like you're the only defenseman out here at times. Like you got to play defense for this shift. So.
Now, what was your team's mindset heading into the CHA playoffs this year? Your team wasn't projected to win that playoff series. So, what was like your team's mindset trying to head in and playing those top teams in the CHA for that playoff run you had?
Yeah, I think when you hear stuff like you're not projected to win, and I think like for my team, like we just took that as motivation, and it just kind of lit a fire under everybody and said, you know what, like hey, we are going to be the team to win. And I think we were the team with almost the most experience going into that final game because everyone on my team had already been there except for the freshmen. So I think it was just one of those things where you have to take it as motivation and you can't take it personal and you say, you know what, hey, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then I think on top of that, that's what made the win that much better is that, you proved all those people wrong and you kind of proved that, you don't need all these Olympians on your team and all that kind of stuff. Like at the end of the day, it just comes down to kind of grit and hard work. And thankfully that's what our team was made of. So.
Yeah, no, speaking of grit and hard work, one game that really showed that was the game against Mercyhurst. Just talk about that game, what you took away from it, and what was your reaction when Maggie got that overtime winner to seal the deal and win that game, because that was one of the best college hockey games I watched this past season.
Yeah, so between us and Mercyhurst, there's always those games are always get a little bit more intense, say, than the average CHA game because those are our biggest rivals. And so I think having the opportunity to play them in the semifinal, I think a lot of people that's what we wanted. And so I mean that was a tough game. That was a physical game, and our games with Mercyhurst are never like neither team really blows out the other. Like they're always close-knit games and they're always extremely physical. So that's something that we already knew going into the game that, hey, was not going to be an easy win. And this was going to be more of a fight and a battle than your average game. And then of course it goes into overtime. I mean, what are the odds? But then when Meg scored that goal, I was speechless. Like I was just like, holy smokes, like here we go. We're going to the finals. Like, and we were able to beat Mercy. Like, I think that game gave us like a huge amount of confidence going into the finals and saying like, hey, like I would say Mercy is our biggest rival. And if we just beat them, like, I think we were more than ready to go into that final game.
Yeah, and obviously the previous year they beat you in overtime. So did it feel good to get kind of like a little bit of revenge against that opponent?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a tough game in that the year before losing to them. So it's kind of like getting your second chance. That was that was very exciting.
And talking to one of your players about that game, apparently one thing that was interesting was how there was no fear in your team's locker room heading into the overtime. You guys were still laughing and dancing. So is that something like just having that mindset during that overtime? Did that help kind of get rid of that pressure and get rid of that nerves playing in that big type of game?
Yeah, I think like one thing that we tried to do in our locker room was keep things light. Because when people start to get stressed and get anxious, and that's when people start to make like little mistakes that they normally wouldn't make. So I think especially like as upperclassmen, like I mean, yeah, we had a full blown dance party in between the going into the overtime because people were getting a little bit stressed and a little bit nervous because everybody wanted to win. But we just kind of started dancing around and like playing our favorite songs, and I think it like helped everyone to just like take a step back, take a breath, have some fun, and then carry that fun into the overtime, because I think that's something that's so important with hockey is like playing for fun. Like don't really play because it shouldn't feel like a job. Like it shouldn't feel like, oh my goodness, I have to win. It should be like, oh my goodness, I really want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because you love winning so much as an athlete. So that was just something that we kind of had to do to keep everyone, happy.
Now, in the CHA final, you played Syracuse. What did you take away from that game, especially the team's defensive performance and your goaltender, Reagan Kirk's performance as well, because she made some big saves to help you win that game?
Absolutely. I think it always, I never really understood the whole defense wins championships until that game, because I think it was the last probably like minute 14 seconds, I believe. It was in our end the entire time. They had pulled their goalie, and I also really understood the importance of blocking shots. We had a couple of our seniors make these like huge blocks from the charging out to the point. And so I think like a huge takeaway is how important defense is. Like, sure, the goal scoring is okay, like that's obviously what you need to win. But at the end of the day, like it's your goaltending, it's your defense, it's your forwards playing their ability to play defense that's going to win.
Yeah, no. Then, did you get any block shots yourself during that game, and how did you like deal with the pain of that, or you just don't even feel it at that moment?
I think I did have a couple of blocks. I honestly can't remember. The kind of the game is like slowly coming back to me, but it's definitely a bit of a blur because it was so exciting. But I think I did have a couple blocks, probably on like my one-on-ones and stuff coming down. And it might hurt for a second or two, but then, your adrenaline's going,
Hmm.
that it's more of like, you'll feel it the next like 3 days later when all your adrenaline calms down.
Yeah, no, especially, and another thing from that performance I kind of alluded to earlier was your goaltender's performance, Reagan Kirk. How good does it feel to have a goaltender like that who can just like win you games in those type of big game situations?
Yeah, I mean, she played outstanding. And I know, we were able to play all three of our goalies throughout the CHA, which was absolutely incredible. And I don't think a lot of teams can say that. So all across the board, we had phenomenal goaltending. And then for Reagan to come out in the final, I mean, I couldn't even imagine the pressure. I've never played goalie, but I could only imagine that, you got to play that entire game and that's all on you. And, for her to mentally stay completely relaxed, keep everybody relaxed, is something that our team was so grateful for. And then obviously like her goaltending ability goes without being said, that she was amazing and she did everything that she needed to do and more.
Now, what emotions were you feeling after winning the CHA championship, especially during your junior year and for what you went through the previous two seasons on losing in the CHA championship?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, I don't know, I mean, it was incredible. I don't really think I could ever describe that, just because it's something that we've worked for so hard. And then especially like the ups and downs of even this past COVID season, like not thinking you were going to have a season and then having a season. And then our team ended up getting COVID. So then we really didn't think we were going to have a season. I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster the whole ride. And then to end it off with a CHA win, was just absolutely incredible. It was a little bit bitter because, we couldn't have our families there. I think some families were able to come, but like my family couldn't come because the border being closed. So I remember FaceTiming them on the ice. Like as soon as the game was done, I went and immediately called them, and because that was as close as I could get to having them there. So that was like made a little bit tough. But at the end of the day, like I would never change a single thing that happened. And like that game was something that I'll kind of always remember.
Now, in the national tournament, you played Northeastern, who was the number one ranked team in the country in that tournament. How did your team prepare for them, especially because of that ranking? And how'd your team handle the pressure of being an underdog and playing against the best team in the country?
Yeah. I think we kind of took it like as we always do, like instead of fearing the game, like we said like, hey, like, we're the underdog, we don't have anything to lose. No, probably no one really thinks we're going to win. So again, it's one of those things like, hey, let's prove them wrong. We did in the CHAs, like, yes, Northeastern is number one, but if we just give it everything we got, we could put up a very good fight. And then I think too, it was another thing, like, we said, okay, finally, like our program's like, we're back in the NCAA tournament. Like, I think in an overall perspective, for our team, for our organization to be built, I think it was like it was like, hey, okay, we can do this and this can help our team in the future. I mean, obviously we don't have a team anymore, but that was also one of the things, like, this is like and even said, like, although we lost, we took it as like a huge success for our program. That was our second time going there, and our program had been getting better and better every single year. So I think, like I said, like although we lost, I think our program, you know, we won in our world. We won.
Yeah, and I want to get your reaction to that. Like, even though you lost that game against Northeastern, what do you overall take away from your first national tournament experience? And after obviously that ended up being your final game with Robert Morris, just how does it feel now thinking about that game again?
Yeah, so it's kind of like that bittersweet thing. Like, I'm very proud of myself, and I'm extremely proud of my team, because we went out there and we gave it everything we got. Obviously the cards weren't in our favor, but we just kind of said, hey, you gotta. This is the opportunity that you're given, and basically give it everything you got. And then obviously at the time, like you said, like we didn't realize that was going to be, or I didn't realize that was going to be my last game with the program. So thinking back on it, it gets very upsetting, because like our team was like, okay, like we can keep the ball rolling here. Like we made it to the first round of NCAA. All right, next year we're gonna, we'll strive to make it to the second round. So to not have that opportunity, to play for RMU and to make it to the NCAA tournament again, it's like it's very upsetting and very heartbreaking.
Now, overall, what do you take away from your experience at Robert Morris, and what will you remember the most from your college hockey days so far?
Yeah. I think there's kind of too much to say. I had my family there at RMU. I had a great experience, and I'm going into my fourth year, so it's not done yet. But I think just knowing that, our team was never that flashy team. But I think at the end of the day, and this can go in all aspects of life, that if you just put your head down and grind it out and work hard, um, that's pretty much all you need, to make it to wherever you want to go. And I think that's a huge, like something that was always like said at RMU, was like, you don't need all the bells and whistles to win. You just work hard, give it everything you got. And that's basically all you need to win a championship.
So we're now in the non-hockey segment of the podcast where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit off the ice. My first question to you is, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Uh, I don't know, because you can't really go out and see things because of COVID. And I was actually just back in Toronto, for about a week and a half, and I didn't really do too much. Although I met up with some of my high school friends, and one of them is in like the science world, and he just got his first basically like scientific research post and published, which is really exciting for him. And he's learning how to basically, he says, way more complicated than you think, but he's trying to make plastic a conductor. And like instead, metal conducts. Well, he's researching to make plastic a conductor, which I thought was like very neat. Like I had never thought that was even possible. And he's out there trying to make it possible. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's good for him getting that first study, I guess, published. That's something that I might need to use it for a research paper in college. So um,
Absolutely. Yep.
that's pretty good. That's pretty cool that you got to have that done already.
Yeah.
Yeah, for myself, it was probably like something a little less sciencey. It was a sports-related thing, seeing Messi leaving Barcelona to
Yeah.
PSG. I thought that was interesting just because of the whole situation and just how different European professional sports are compared to here in North America.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, what music do you like to listen to, and what fires you up before a game?
Oh, I listen to anything. I'm literally the least picky person when it comes to music. I listen to with my dad on road trips. It's classic rock. Um, when I'm with like some of my friends, it's country music. I think at the end of the day, I'd always listen to country music. Um, but and then like before a game, I just listen to whatever my teammates play on the thing. So I guess rap and I don't know your most recent pop music that's
Hmm.
playing on the radio. I'm very easygoing when it comes to music.
Now, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Ooh. I think, okay, when you're walking on a sidewalk and there are slow walkers, and when those slow walkers take up the whole sidewalk, and say, like, I grew up in Toronto, so you can't really step out on the street because there's so much traffic. I think Yeah, so definitely like slow walkers. And if those slow walkers could just walk on like the right side of the sidewalk or the left side of the sidewalk to give room for other people to pass, that'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, or when they like, or if they're like tourists and they like stop to take like a picture or look around and you're just trying to get somewhere, that's even more annoying.
Yeah, yeah. I was in the mall the other day, and that's exactly what happened. I was walking, and the guy in front of me just threw on the brakes, and I just like walked right into him because I wasn't expecting it. But there was this picture on the wall that he had to look at, so it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, no, it's that my pet peeve is bad driving. When you're like behind someone that just doesn't know how to drive, and it's just like taking forever, and you need to get somewhere. That's
Yeah,
probably my
or
opinion.
they don't signal.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. Or when they do signal and they merge in the highway and the blinker's still on, like 20 minutes after they merge, that bothers me a lot too.
That's the worst with like transport trucks. Like
Hmm.
I was actually driving back here yesterday into Pittsburgh, and this transport truck, and like I like to be nice because I understand driving a transport truck cannot be easy. Well, I don't think I fully understand, but I can just take a guess. And so the guy had his blinker on that he wanted to merge into my lane. So I slowed down for I think like 5 minutes to let him know that I was gonna give him room to move into my lane. And then I was like, "Are you kidding?" Like he never ended up moving in. So then I just drove past him. But I was like, "Really, buddy?"
Yeah, no, no, merging is probably the worst part about learning how to drive because like no one gives you any space. So when you try to do it, and
Yeah.
being in Massachusetts, sometimes the drivers here are pretty aggressive. So it's like you have to like be really careful when you emerge into the highway.
Yes, I feel like that's very similar to Toronto. You
Hmm.
know, people are kind of in their own worlds when it comes to driving. So if you're ever in Toronto, just be
Hmm.
careful.
I love Toronto. It's my favorite city I've ever visited. So I hope to get the chance to go back there, but I never had the chance to drive there. So maybe it's something I gotta think about next time I visit.
Yeah, I would recommend taking the public transit though.
Hmm.
It's nice public transit and it's much easier than trying to navigate
Hmm.
in a car.
Definitely. Now, final non-hockey question to you is, what's your favorite show, TV show, movie, whatever?
Ooh. Okay, well, I just watched the new season of Outer Banks. I feel like that's very typical, but it's very good. I'm a huge fan of Outer Banks. Um, and then my favorite movie, I'm a big fan of Mamma Mia. I was not a big fan of the second movie, but I have like a couple of friends back home, and every time we get together, if we need a movie, we put on Mamma Mia. It's
I've
just kind of
never,
a good, happy sing along movie that's easy to watch.
yeah, no, I've never heard of. I've heard of Mamma Mia. I've never seen it before. I can't even tell you what like the plot is. I only know that like one song from it, which is it's like slipping through my fingers. That's like the only song I like know from
Oh,
it.
okay. Well, like
That's
Dancing
about it.
Queen is from there. Well, it's from
Oh,
ABBA,
really?
but they have it in Mamma Mia. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
now,
I
what's the
think I've heard of
movie? Is it about like her like trying to get married or something? That's what I remember reading, and that was it.
Yeah, it's more like the main girl is getting married, but she has to figure out, I guess, like there's three men, and each of them could be her dad,
Oh,
that her mom was with when she was a kid, and she's trying to like figure out, and she invites them all to her wedding, and her mom has like never talked to them before. So the girl takes the liberty of inviting all three of them, and the mom's just like in utter shock because she hasn't seen these men since like they were together when they were in their like 20s.
yeah.
But it's funny too. The actors are good, and the singing and dancing is kind of fun.
You know, I'm a big Outer Banks fan. I've only watched one episode of the new season, but everyone's telling me it's pretty crazy. So hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully, I don't know. I don't like what's his name, the dad of Sarah Cameron. I just hopefully he gets some sort of like taste of his own medicine after what happened in season one.
Yes. Yes. I'm not going to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anything, but definitely go watch it.
All right, definitely. Yeah, no, it's already the first episode was already very interesting. So
Yes,
hopefully, I'm assuming the rest of the season's gonna be just like that.
it is. It's good.
Now back to some hockey questions. Now, my first question to you is: what advice would you give a younger player who's trying to pursue a career in Division One college hockey?
Um, I think after this year and basically going through what my team has just gone through, it's the typical pick the school for your school, and don't pick it for hockey because, I mean, hey, I would have never guessed that my program is cut and now I'm a NARP, non athletic regular person. So I think that's like a huge thing that I would stress to upcoming players is that like pick the school for your school, and then pick your hockey. it's I think it's more important than you think it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird for yourself, like not being a student athlete next year. It's fun. I'm not a student athlete. It's it's like you have more free time, I would assume. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm very, you know what? I was like, hey, like you gotta take everything else on a positive note. And like I said, like I have three teammates. Like two of them are coming back for the first semester and then transferring second semester because the girls are in my year. So they basically like if you want to transfer in my year, you have to graduate and then go in as a grad student. So I mean that'll be a lot of fun. And then second semester from my team, it's literally me and my one other teammate, another defenseman. And we're just like, hey, we're going to live it up because all those times that we didn't want to go to our like 8 a.m. practice, 7 a.m. practice, like now we have that opportunity. So, let's just take what we've been given and go have some fun.
Yeah, and definitely watch some of your teammates at other schools perform well.
Yeah, I think we have like Ohio State, like we have three of our like Lexi,
Mhm.
Emily Curlette, and Reagan. They're all transferring to OSU, and that's not too far from here. So we were like, hey, like maybe we'll go over to Ohio, and then like I have one teammate going to Syracuse, and I don't know, we just kind of make the rounds and go visit people.
Yeah, I know Michaela is going to Boston College for
Yeah,
not this upcoming semester, but spring semester this year. So
yeah,
that's not probably far away from Pittsburgh. It's like a
no,
six.
and Michaela's actually my roommate, so that's
Oh,
exciting. I'm very happy for her to be able to go back and play in Boston.
that's awesome. Well, what should be done to help grow women's hockey in your opinion? I think one bad part about of the all there's a lot of bad that came from that Robert Morris announcement, but one of it was how another women's college hockey program was being canceled. So, what do you think should be done to help grow women's hockey, in your opinion?
Well, if another school doesn't have a women's hockey team and wants to replace ours, go for it. I think it's kind of like you said, like, yeah, okay, we lost a program, but that's also like whatever it is, like 22 spots, 23 spots that, youth female hockey players don't get to take anymore. So I think it's like continuing to encourage people to go and watch our games, even if it's online or like just watch the highlight reel or something. Like let people be aware that hey, like women's hockey is very good. Like okay, yeah, we can't smash each other through the boards, but that's not to say there's non-contact. um and it's a high speed and it's a skilled game. And I think it's just very important for the word to get out and to encourage people to go and like stop in and watch a game for watch one period. That's all we ask.
Mhm.
And then if you want to watch more, then absolutely go for it, but like you got to give it a fighting chance instead of just like brushing it off to the side and saying like whatever they say about women's hockey, like, oh, okay, it's not fast enough, it's not good enough, whatever. Like, yes, it is. It's a very good game. So please come and watch our games.
Mhm. Yep, I totally agree, and I'm assuming most people that are listening to this podcast probably do watch women's hockey. So, but tell your
Yes,
friends to go watch women's hockey, especially in college.
yes, exactly.
Now, do you have any shout outs you'd like to give to any of your family members, friends, teammates, former teammates, anyone in particular?
I'll give a shout out to my sister, Claire, Claire Thompson. She made the Team Canada team to go compete in Worlds in Calgary in the upcoming, I think it starts in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So Claire, your family loves you, and we are so incredibly proud of you. And good luck. And go Team Canada.
Hmm. Well, I'm definitely very excited for the World Championships, but as an American, I got to root for Team USA. So, but I hope Claire does very well in that tournament. And if
Thanks.
Team Canada wins gold, we'll be very happy because I know some players on that team as well. So for me, it really doesn't matter. But I got to root for Team USA.
That's fine. That's fine. I won't hold it against you.
Well, thank you so much, Jillian, for coming on. I wish you all the best for this for your school year next year, and enjoy being a regular student, I guess, for your senior year. And good luck for your student teaching as well. And I wish you all the best. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, one question I want to ask you before I let you go is just